Hi, I'm Jason Breach. I'm part of the Skills Centre team here in Axminster. I do quite a lot of routing operations, so we're going to look at the mortice lock jig. This is so simple to use and easy to set up. Your general mortice lock fitting is very time consuming, difficult to do. This is going to speed it up. And like I said, so simple to set up. So come and have a look. So the standard part of the jig is the main body. It's nicely constructed. Got aluminium brackets underneath that are going to grip on the side of the door. The top bit you're going to run on. Nice scale down through the edge. Everything's nicely adjustable, nicely made. So how does this all go together? That's the main bit. You then also get your templates. You get the ones for actually doing the face of the lock, the front bit you're going to see. You get the ones for doing the body of the lock. So there's two different types. It's quite important you understand that there's two different areas. So first thing you need to do when you go set it up, you obviously need a lock. So you need to measure the width of your body of your lock and match that to the size of the plate. So this is 22.5mm. Next size up could be an inch, 25.4. So we will want 25. Okay. This literally just drops on. You've got the little screws going to hold it. We can move that up and down. We lock it into place. Very important on this when you lock it in that it's secured. And also your set mark down this end is parallel. So you can understand how they lock in and out. Okay, we can change them over really quickly. That's going to be quite important. To position on the door, everything is adjustable. Again, it's tightened on the screws. There is also centre line either end. So that gets you parallel on the door. So we need to start really to set this up. So what else do you need when you start playing with this? You will need a 1/2 inch diameter long cutter. It's got to be a long reach cutter because you've got to do the length of the lock. So quite deep. Can't do a 1/4 inch cutter. You will need a guide bush. This is 16mm. You will need something to hold it. So a good way of getting around this is the threaded guide bushes. That gives me my 16mm. Those things we can obviously load into the router. We can set the jig up as well. So to set the jig up, it'll probably be easier to do this on the door. So we'll get you over to the door. With our door, we need to set the height of where we want the centre of the lock. So we put a pencil line across. To help you, I'm going to just do a little line down here. That's our centre line of the lock. We now need to find the centre of the door, lengthwise. So I've got marking gauge, I've set this, I can do a dot, come around the other side, check we're about right. That looks good. Then from there, I can do scratch line down the middle. So we have our line. Again, use the pencil just to help you see a bit more. So our middle line. Why is that important? With the jig, when we bring this on, we open up the brackets all on the ends. We've said about on the jig there is a centre line either end. So there's one here, one there. So I need to centralise this, clamp it up. Move it along so I can do the same down the other end. Okay, so we have our position for that. We're first of all going to cut the lock plate, the visible bit. So to do that we need to measure this. We have 152mm. As we've said on the bar here, we have our scale, we have a centre line. There is an offset either side. I'll explain that a little bit. You've got a start line that's a bit further out. We'll get to that when we get to the router. So 152 we need to half. So 76. So we want 76mm either side. So we move our scale up. Check there. Okay. So we tighten that one. We do the same the other end. Just double check, that looks good. We then need to find our middle mark, which we've got here. We can bring the jig back over, sight that up. Make sure it doesn't move on a G-clamp. We then need to select the inserts. So this is for the faceplate bit we're going to see. We've got 22.5, we've got 25.4. We've already said it's 22.5, so we're going to put that one out of the way. We then need the router set. So we've got our length set. Now with the cutter, we have 1/2 inch diameter, 16mm guide bush. We said about the centre line starting either side. You've got a centre line there, and your measurements are either side of that line. That's the offset between the 1/2 inch cutter and the 16mm guide bush. About 4mm. Okay, so you've got about 1.5mm either side. Well, our router, that guide bush is going to follow up to where we've done our stop block. So it'll follow the template up to the length we've set it for. Next thing we can do, set the cutter depth. So I push the cutter down onto the door. We've got our depth stop on the router. We can move it up and down. Use that plate, help set that up. Nice and easy. Next thing we're going to do is extraction, because this will really help on this. Then the power. Last thing, the earmuffs. So having cut our recess out for the face, we're going to change the top plate. So slide that one back off. While we've got the access, we also want to remeasure the cylinder part of the lock, the bit that's going in. So we have 97mm. Again, you need to half it. So just checking my measurements. So we set that to match basically the width of our lock body. Remember, this is going to be a little bit over from here because you've got that distance off the side of the guide bush to the cutter. So if you do this, it's going to be sloppy, that's good. We then want the insert plate, 16mm, matches width for the body. Goes in. Slide it up, lock it down on the screws. We need to reset the router now. We need a lot more depth. So chances are going to need to go as deep as I can almost go with the router fully. This is very similar to what we've just done. The temptation is to push the router round and round. You're better off using this a bit like a mortiser and drill a series of holes all the way down to the depth, like you would do with a drill, and then remove the waste out. Again, this is going to be pretty noisy, so you need your earmuffs for this. So back to our stop point on. So having cut out the waste, it's worth just getting your lock, just see if it will fit in. So I'm a little bit tight. So just going to open this up a little bit. Again, just need to clean that out. Then we can double check. Quite a nice fit, that fits well. So the most important bit when you're doing this, you're changing those plates over for the lock plate from the faceplate. Don't need to move the jig off here. You've got to hold it on the door. So I've left the G-clamp on, we've still got our centre mark. If you start moving it, you've ruined all your settings. Now we've got to the end, let's take that one off. Last little bit really to do. Still got to be a little bit of handwork. Just literally chisel the corners square. So I haven't taken the jig back out of the way. We've tested the face of the look. That fits nicely. Test how flat it is. We've still got our centre mark. We've got our whip mark, so we can put things back if we need to. We can turn our lock over. That'll go in nicely all the way down through. Last thing you'd have to do be drill your hole. That's quite easy. So you can see how versatile and how quick that is, just to set up, put it on there, cut your groove. Okay, one small issue that you might have when using things like this, obviously you get the thickness of the plate that is sat on the top of the door. You can only have the router cutter so far out of the bottom of the router when you start. Well, basically you're going to make contact with the door with the cutter in place. It'll hit the woodwork, spin the router. You've got to plunge it down in. So with the scenario of most door locks, with your depth, we want to get right down to here, but you've also got the thickness of the plate, not quite long enough to do in one pass. So you do need to get into the habit with this of get as far as you can when doing the mortise bit, drilling your holes. If you need to go deeper, I've held the cutter quite a long way up in the router before we start. That's going to give us more stability. We get as far as we can. A little bit more reach, undo your collet, feed the cutter out a little bit. That also gives you the aspect that you've already drilled your hole and removed most of the waste, so you've got more clearance. It means the cutter will drop into the hole you've just done, not going to bind on the woodwork. Much safer to do. It means you can get right down to the bottom of your lock. So those little things are going to make a difference, but so quick and easy to use. Great little piece of kit.